Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money Channel. We got him. Sam Bankman-Fried is in cuffs as he lands in New York. This tweeted out by Citizen Free Press here on Twitter. And guys, there's a photo. Sam Bankman-Fried in cuffs. You would think maybe that this would have a bit of an influence on the market, but we have not seen any kind of adjustment with regards to market activity. XRP still hovering in that same level of support. XRP trading right now at 34.6. So it is up a little bit since yesterday, but albeit not by too much. We got the XRP chart up here on the hourly just to demonstrate that we did see a bit of a move up for XRP. Nothing to write home about. Let's bring up Bitcoin here. On the hourly, relatively flat Bitcoin action. So, market not moving. Of course, this isn't really a huge development, just, another ongoing part of the story. We did also get more information, though, with regards to Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang. Sam Bankman-Fried's right and left hands. Okay, so Alameda's Ellison and FTX's Gary Wang hit with additional fraud charges, guys. The new charges from the SEC and CFTC come as the pair plead guilty to federal fraud charges filed by the Department of Justice earlier on December the 22nd. The SEC states that Ellison and Wang were charged for their role in the multi-year scheme to defraud equity investors in FTX, with the SEC also investigating whether other securities laws were violated as well. The SEC alleges that Ellison, under the direction of former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, furthered the scheme by manipulating the price of the FTX token, or rather FTT, which is described as a crypto security token in the document. The said manipulation was conducted by purchasing large quantities on the open market to prop up its price. So it's looking as though we've got a little bit more information on Caroline Ellison's role and Gary Wang's role. The amended complaint now lays charges against Ellison for fraud and material misrepresentations in connection with the sale of digital asset commodities in interstate commerce. This is a quote, I'm guessing, from the official criminal report. As for Wang, the former FTX exec has been charged with fraud in connection with the sale of digital asset commodities in interstate commerce. So now Gary Wang and Caroline Ellison have been arrested, and Michael Branch bringing us some more details with regards to this story. With that deal, she'll sing like a canary. Plea agreement would waive Ellison of any charges except criminal tax violations, provided she fully cooperates with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So apparently, bail has been set for Ellison at $250,000, surrender of travel documents, and forfeiture of assets. Plea agreement would waive Ellison of any charges except criminal tax violations, provided she fully cooperates with the U.S. Attorney's Office. So more information here on her plea deal. The agreement states that if Ellison fully cooperates with the SDNY's investigation, as well as any other law enforcement agency designated by the office, she won't be further prosecuted criminally, except for possible criminal tax violations with regards to the wire and commodity fraud charges that resulted from commingling funds between FTX and Alameda accounts. The court would need to agree to the plea deal for it to be in effect. Also note this, guys, a paragraph in the document has apparently been redacted, removing information about some of the possible charges that Caroline Ellison faces. So now we've got these two ex-FTX employees possibly on the line for their role in this whole criminal enterprise, but likely going to strike a deal, a plea deal. So will they rat out SBF? We've got Genevieve Roch-Decter here as well, breaking. Okay, this is an interesting side note here. Sam Bankman-Fried will likely be transferred to the same jail where Jeffrey Epstein died. And note here, Twitter has taken it upon itself to add some additional context to this. Readers added context they thought people might want to know. But you know what? I'm going to add my own context here, courtesy of Genevieve Roch-Decter, just to point to the connections here. Now, we do not know if Sam Bankman-Fried will be jailed in the same Metropolitan Correctional Center, which is what it's called, that jail in New York City. So we know that this is where Jeffrey Epstein was. We also know that pending cases, okay, this is important, pending cases in the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York, they all go through this particular facility. The Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York is a United States federal administrative detention facility in the Civic Center of Lower Manhattan, New York City, located on Park Row behind the Thurgood Marshall United States Courthouse at Foley Square. And so we know this is the district, the particular district where these particular criminal cases go. And since we know Sam Bankman-Fried is in fact located here, United States District Court, Southern District of New York, it is very likely that he could be in the same Metropolitan Correctional Facility. So, of course, that's got the meme makers going nuts. Citizen of the future down here, SBF, don't learn the hard way if Haley calls, don't accept her deep state pizza delivery. Not going to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm sure for those who know, they definitely know. Mark Gonslave's down here saying, please fix the cameras this time. And, if you've been following the Jeffrey Epstein story, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about here. A lot of funny memes down in here. Anyway, I'm going to link this tweet in the description of the video if you guys want to check some of those out. More information, though, about this. Okay, we just discovered Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang turned on SBF, ratting him out to the feds. The SEC's civil, non-criminal complaint is built on their participation and gives us our first insider's account of the FTX disaster. So guys, just some takeaways here. I'm not going to go over this in detail, but more things that we know, okay? It was what we thought. SBF lied. Wang built a backdoor to FTX for Alameda to sweep funds. Caroline ran Alameda, Sam's personal fund. Sam invested in real estate, politicians, and venture capital. And so there's a lot of information here just demonstrating that that was the case. Again, I will link this in the description of the video for those of you guys who want to follow in more detail. Number 2, Sam told me to do it. Caroline says that Sam directed her to take customer funds from FTX in exchange for the made-up FTT crap coin. This directly contradicts Sam's repeated "I didn't know" statement. So if you remember, Sam Bankman-Fried has been stating it all along, playing the fool, playing the patsy. Well, I didn't know what I was doing. And it's looking as though Caroline is wisely throwing Sam under the bus. May 2022, the crap hits the fan. Despite already having borrowed billions and billions of FTX customer assets by May, when crypto went bump in the night, Alameda and Sam couldn't fulfill his borrower obligations. Sam ordered Caroline to take even more FTX customer money. And the rest is history, as you know, brazen multi-year scheme. So, this thread goes into more detail about what happened. And I could go into it for the next 10, 15 minutes, but I'm not going to. I will link it in the description for those of you guys interested in this story and continuing to follow the SBF saga. Thought I'd bring it up, though, because it is an important part in what is going on with the entire crypto market, the entire crypto industry obviously being affected by this. Dan Moorhead also brought this up, okay, to put things into perspective with regards to where crypto is currently at in the US versus worldwide, okay? Just 5% of the market cap of the top 15 blockchain protocols are projects domiciled in the US versus 78% for internet companies. So he's comparing internet companies and how the United States really had a firm grasp on internet adoption back in the 90s and comparing that to blockchain protocols and where we are today with regards to cryptocurrency adoption in the United States versus globally. The state of crypto asset regulation is the polar opposite, he says, of the rest of the internet, and the impact is clear. A brief explanation why. You guys can see here in this infographic, we've got a lot of American internet companies, but then when you compare that to blockchain protocols or blockchain companies, many of these are not domiciled in the United States. But we got Ripple and XRP, we've got Solana, we've got Uniswap, and apparently that only makes up about 5% compared to 78% of internet companies. He continues by saying the US government literally built the internet, which is coincidentally celebrating its 50th anniversary, the TCP-IP next year, and then empowered early internet companies with a myriad of congressional advantages. In particular, the US gave them safe harbor against regulation and provided an 8.25% discount versus their brick-and-mortar competitors via no sales tax. The result is that all the large internet companies in the world are in the United States or are essentially Chinese copies. So this is how the internet grew, guys, back in the 90s and in the 2000s and matured in the 2010s. The United States government gave these incentives for these companies to stay in America, and this is why the United States is such a strong and influential part of internet development over the last 3 decades. So just some more information here. U.S. presence in internet, United States, the market cap just over $3 trillion. Down here so far in the blockchain era, the U.S. regulatory approach has had the opposite effect. 95% of market cap of the 15 largest blockchain protocols are in projects domiciled outside the United States. So to give us some context to where we're at, and Dan Moorhead, I think, really does give us a good window into where we could go. And I mean, the U.S. has been a leader historically for many different things over the last 100 years or so, technology especially, though. And so, it would be a shame if the U.S. government does mess this up. And this is why all this stuff, the Caroline Ellison, Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX, the Terra Luna, all this stuff does really have to get fixed, and we do have to get it right, because if we get it wrong, it could have a cascading effect, a ripple effect, dare I say, for decades to come. So I also saw this guy's from Ant1 here on Twitter. Ripple executive slams the SEC and Wells Fargo as updated court schedule is released. Now, Brad Garlinghouse has come out criticizing the SEC once again. Wells Fargo was just sued, and let me read you this. Ripple remains belligerent against the SEC. Both CEO Brad Garlinghouse and General Counsel Stuart Alderoty wrote tweets denouncing the SEC's double standards. Garlinghouse tweeted a meme in reference to recent scandals at banking giant Wells Fargo. Now, let me just bring up the meme for you guys. The world is appropriately outraged by Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX's fraud, but when Wells Fargo mismanages billions in customer funds as well, it's barely a blip on the radar. Food for thought. So I think this speaks volumes, and I think Brad is right on target here. He's not letting it go. Why is that? Big banks versus cryptocurrency, an unlevel playing field, I do not doubt. Andrew's down here pointing out something interesting. I guess that means Wells Fargo is not a Ripple partner. Yeah, that's a good point. XRP Crypto Wolf also saying SEC should have gone after FTX and Wells Fargo to save customers from losing billions instead of suing Ripple over XRP. If only the SEC actually cared about the people they're supposed to protect. XRP_Crow down here also mentioning banks are accustomed to fraud and are just paying fees. And then business as usual. It's interesting how they decide who goes to jail and who doesn't go to jail. As XRP_Crow points out here, banks, they're used to paying fees, and then it's just business as usual. You keep breaking the law, then you keep paying fees, and the cycle just continues. Number of major legal actions. Okay, here's just a chart. 395 major legal actions against some of America's top banks. Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley and Wells Fargo, and the amount of fines these particular banks have paid, so sanctions and settlements. And we're in the billions, guys, okay, billions of dollars in fines paid. In the case of Bank of America, $91 billion in fines. I don't know what time period this is. Nevertheless, it just kind of goes to show you where we are with regards to crypto, how it is a bit of a David and Goliath battle. Stuart Alderoty, Ripple's in-house counsel, also commented on this. When Chair Gensler says that investors were left holding the bag, he may want you to believe that he's talking about FTX customers who lost billions. He's not. He's referring only to FTX's sophisticated equity investors. XRP Crypto Wolf responding, US clearly forgot that the government are public servants to the people. Unfortunately, retail doesn't matter to the SEC. The XRP lawsuit showed us their true colors. So, we're still fighting against the SEC. I'm happy, though, that, Stuart Alderoty and Brad Garlinghouse have both come out and, are calling them out on what is going on because, it's obvious. There is a double standard. Cryptocurrency is being treated not with the same kid gloves as the traditional legacy banking system is being treated, at least not by the SEC. We have this huge problem right now, and we're losing sight of the bigger picture here, as as Dan Moorhead pointed out. We gotta all get along, and I feel like this has been the mantra of the entire crypto industry since the Ripple case was nearing a close, and that's just one example. We need the US to continue to be a leader in this space. Otherwise, international entities will surpass the United States, and maybe some of these alternative technologies could be prominent, could be dominant. We're already seeing it with the BRICS countries already starting to build a cross-border payment system for their internal purposes, something similar to SWIFT, but likely will be using DLT technology. So, in order to stay on top, we need the regulatory clarity. Ripple is, in the middle of this heated debate at the top of the priority list, I think, for the crypto industry. And so, it's pretty childish now to see Ripple XRP FUD from the haters who are also building in crypto. We're all in this same boat together. So we all need the clarity. All boats need to rise, right? As Brad Garlinghouse and David Schwartz have put it in the past. That brings me to this guy's XRP Deriv here on Twitter at SCaruso123. If Ripple gets outright victory in the lawsuit and the SEC appeals to appellate court, okay, so we've never thought of this situation. What happens in the interim? So let's think about this for a second. Ripple wins the case, right? Likely we will see the price of XRP pumping. If we do hear, the outcome of a win, it will be likely a FOMO pump. But what are the next steps? Likely the SEC will appeal, and it could drag this case on even longer. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we're going to see this interim pump before another dump? And then, more basing, more, chopping sideways before we actually get a final result? Or, even worse, will the court even allow that final judgment to continue if the SEC decides to appeal, which likely they will? So does Ripple have the green light to operate in the United States until a final decision is made? And I got to thank S. Caruso123 for tagging me in this, because this is an interesting question here. I'm happy James K. Filan did decide to respond to this. Okay, so the SEC will ask to stay the judgment pending its appeal to the Second Circuit. Basically what he's saying is the SEC will decide, they'll ask the court, please hold off on this decision because we're going to appeal, so let's not make it official yet. He goes on to say that means it will ask the court not to enforce the judgment until the appeal is over. But I guess then the question is, will that actually happen? Will the court listen to the SEC? That would be an epic battle between the parties, and whether the court agrees to that remains to be seen. So another big question mark here, which also kind of brings up some more questions in the meantime. We get the verdict. Obviously, everybody will hear about the verdict, and likely we will see a price pump for XRP. I mean, think of how much the price even moved down just based on the news of the XRP lawsuit alone, okay? From this top here, now this was back in November, so I guess to be fair, we should take it from the 22nd. So right in and around here, 22nd of December 2020, that is still roughly a 70% decline, okay, in XRP price when the SEC announcement was officially made. And so, if we were to just bring ourselves back up to that price, if we were to just go back from that bottom back up to that price in which it started to cascade, we would see about a 230% increase for XRP price if that were the case. So, I mean, you could only imagine 230%. We get settlement. It's clear. It's positive for XRP. 230%. I think is a conservative estimate, would in fact be considered very conservative. And that would bring the price to $1.14 per coin. Now, again, I'm just going based on, some historical moves that we've seen for XRP, and that's not going off any technicals at all. Just giving you an example of what could happen just based on what we've seen in the past, the reverse and the negative effect. So then that begs the question, will this be sustained? And will the court actually listen to the SEC's argument with regards to this? Digital Perspectives here saying, great question. And just want to take a second to thank John Deaton, attorney Jeremy Hogan, and James K. Filan also just for their participation in this and educating the XRP community and all other legal minds in the space for all they do to help us understand the case. Now, I believe Jeremy Hogan also participated in this thread and responded to James K. Filan's tweet here. He did respond down here, if she rules simply that there was absolutely no Section 5 violation, what is there to stay? So another interesting opinion here, other than the typical post-judgment motions on costs, etc. Andrew's responding here, could the emails work as further leverage for Ripple in the case of reducing the chance of an appeal? Another good point. If they aren't made public before summary judgment, not sure if my question makes sense. XRPP, when they came, posted this. Your question totally makes sense. In my opinion, the emails, along with all that's riding on the case for the SEC, a settlement has been and will be the likely ending. It'll look like it's going the distance, but it won't. So he's saying we likely will not actually get to that point, that the SEC and Ripple will likely make a settlement before that. I mean, seeing an XRP price spike to $1.14 is definitely a possibility in the interim. I mean, we are likely going to see a FOMO pump. Once we get a verdict, I guess it's just going to be up to the court. If they agree to, as James K. Filan puts it, stay the judgment pending an appeal by the SEC. That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.